Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review the new thriller Silo. And this is from writer-director Marshall Burnett. And this is based off of a shorter film brought into a feature length about a young man who is working on a farm with his father. And he goes into a corn silo with one of the workers and a younger friend of his, and unfortunately he's trapped in the corn and people have to come, firefighters, rescue people to try to save him before he's inevitably crushed by this corn, which I learned a lot about silos watching this movie. And honestly, that's something that could be a little iffy about this film, is the way they just dump exposition, and they don't do it in a particularly interesting way. But you do learn a lot, and you learn that, like, if you're stuck in a silo full of corn, it's basically you're stuck in cement. And this poor kid, this teenager, is just like trying to breathe. And this film spends some time at the beginning really setting things up. This is a pretty low budget film. You can tell there isn't anything particularly elaborate that Burnett's doing in terms of the filmmaking, but does use effective work in terms of capturing the emotions of these characters, because you have this young guy, Cody, and he's left with his father. His mother goes off to work at the hospital, and you have Mr. Adler, who's an older man who seems to have dementia, and you have these little plants that are all set up because that's how this situation gets brought about. Like, he starts wandering around and hits a switch and turns on the turbine inside, and this poor older man who is in the silo with them, it's heartbreaking. That scene is one of the most emotional scenes of the film, because it's like listening to this man plead for his life, and it's just like, oh, I don't think I was ready for this. It was hard to watch, and it definitely was well done and impacted me in a way that was extremely effective. And then it made me worried about this young man, Cody, who's stuck in the grain. Now, the film has a lot of moving characters. You have the father, the mother, the father's father, who's dealing with this dementia. You have, obviously, Cody the kid and his friend who's feeling guilty because he feels like it's his fault that he's caught up in this. The mother who has mother's guilt because she can't really do anything about it. You have the cops. You have the firefighters. You have this guy named Frank who comes in, and he's like the guy there to save this boy. He's supposed to know what he's doing, but you have little dialogue snippets like, well, I hope he's not drunk, kind of thing, and setting up that kind of tortured backstory. And you have Jeremy Holm, who plays Frank, who does a strong job. You have Jim Parrick, who plays the dad, who does a really fine job. James DeForest Parker is the one who plays the older man, Sutter, who winds up getting inside the silo too, and he's definitely effective. But there's also some performances here that feel really flat and awkward from some of the smaller roles, like I think she was a sheriff who showed up, or at least she was a cop, felt a little stilted in the way that the dialogue was delivered, and some of the performances aren't the strongest. You can tell this isn't the most experienced cast, but they do have some solid actor performers in the film that give like some anchor to the film. This definitely feels like it's dragged out a bit. Like, maybe this story shouldn't have been a feature length, even at an hour and 15 minutes. But it does build up enough tension and intrigue, even if some of it's set up in a really clunky way in terms of too much exposition. But in the end, I think this is a really solid thriller, and I think you'll get enough out of it if you just want a short, interesting little thrill ride. And that's basically what this is. It's an hour and 15 minutes of just a thrill ride with some solid setup to give you a little bit of caring and understanding how this situation comes about. And if anything else, you're going to learn a lot about silos through all the lovely exposition. But those are my thoughts on Silo. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.